Is Russia planning to sell her gold? Pravda reports that Russia intends to sell some of her gold. Russia has added more gold to reserves than any other nation on earth over the past 2 years. Is it time to sell? In other news, BRICS countries to invest 500 million in Russian gold deposits in Siberia. According to Russian news agency Pravda, the Russian treasury is planning to sell some of its gold to close its budget deficits. Now, Pravda cites Alexei Vasovsky, vice president of the Golden Monetary House, as saying the finance ministry is looking for ways on how to replenish revenues. Mr. Vyazovsky also told Pravda that he believed Russia may have difficulty selling its gold because of international sanctions, but that if the gold could be sold, the volumes would not influence the markets much. It's a curious story because Russia has been growing its gold reserves at the fastest pace of any country on earth. Over the past 2 years, the Central Bank of Russia has added more gold to its reserves than any country, including China, at a rate that's 50% faster than China. And China has been adding a lot of gold. They've added the second most amount of gold of any central bank on earth. In 2015, the Russian central bank added 208 tons of gold, and so far this year they've added 128 tons through September 30th, 2016. And since 2009, the Russian central bank has added 900 tons of gold. Let's take a look at the charts. This chart shows between June 2014 and September 2016 the monthly additions to gold reserves. So even during the rough patches that Russia has had due to international sanctions and falling oil prices the past couple of years, they've managed to increase their gold reserves and actually increase their overall foreign reserves. So since June 2015 through September 2016, they've built their gold reserves from 1,281 metric tons to 1,542.6, I believe, so 1,543 tons. That places Russia square is at number 6 among nations, with the U.S. having 8,133 tons, Germany 3,381, the IMF 2,814, Italy 2,451, 2,436, and China 1,839 tons. And Russia coming in at 6th place among nations, if you take out the IMF, at 1,543. Now, if you're interested in buying gold, I always make this pitch. You can buy it through the Smaulgld site. There's a variety of vendors to choose from. If you do so, Smaulgld does get a small commission. It helps the site out. There is no charge for the site. And if you buy, you will pay no more, no less if you buy the gold through Smaulgld than you would if you had visited these sites directly. And you can also purchase, you don't have to buy a 1-ounce coin, you can buy as small as a 1/10 ounce coin. There are also American Gold Eagles available in a 1/4 ounce and 1/2 ounce size. Now, let's get back to what Russia is doing. Not only has Russia been adding gold at the fastest pace of any nation on earth, adding those 208 tons last year and 129 tons this year, it is also either the second or largest gold producer in the world, behind, guess who? China, who's the #1 gold producer. The Russian central bank has been buying an increasing amount of its domestic production, effectively turning those rubles into gold. Excuse me, you can see in 2015, they produced 291 tons, and during 2015, they added 208 tons. So you can see that they help out their domestic miners by supporting their mining activities by purchasing a good portion of their available domestic mining production. Now, Russia has 12% of its foreign reserves in gold, worth about 55 billion, and about 90 billion in U.S. treasuries. Russia, as you can see, has built up its treasury position again after having sold off a good portion of it in early 2015. At one point, Russia's U.S. treasury bond holdings were down to about 65 billion. They're now closer to, as of the latest U.S. Treasury report on foreign holdings of U.S. Treasury securities, they're about 88-90 billion. Overall, Russian foreign reserves, as we mentioned, are close to $400 billion, up from about 371 billion in January. So it's not that Russia is in extreme dire straits. They do have a decent reserve position, and that reserve position is growing. But the question is, have they built up their gold position to a point where maybe it's time to buy low, sell high? Now, would this reflect some type of smart treasury management to do so? As we mentioned, the Russian central bank has added a lot of gold, especially in 2014 and 15 when the prices were depressed. And now maybe they could, and they bought it from their domestic mine, so now maybe they can sell their gold at the higher prices in 2016 and kind of a way of locking in their profits. And they could sell their gold. It seems that we've reported that while sanctions may limit Russians' options to sell their gold, they have a willing buyer in China. And last month we reported that Russia planned to sell gold to China. The Russian VDB announced an intention to sell 15 to 20 tons of gold to China in the next 12 months and 80 to 100 tons of gold to China per year in the coming years. So Russia can find a buyer for its gold if it so desires to sell to China and other nations. They could sell to the other BRICS nations. They could sell to Iran. So if they wanted to sell, I don't think there would be an issue selling. The question is, really, why would they? All right. Earlier this week, as we talked about at the top headline, it was announced that the BRICS, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, had agreed to invest 500 million in Russian gold deposits in Siberia. So why would Russia be selling gold other than as a short-term profit maximizing strategy when it continues and has been adding gold to its reserves over the past 3 years at the fastest pace of any nation? And then why would it continue to develop its gold mines if it didn't have an interest in either buying that gold back for themselves or selling it to other nations? Well, in any event, there was a deal signed during the BRICS summit in India on October 15 and 16 that these BRIC nations had agreed to all invest the $500 million in Russian gold deposits in Siberia. This is like 4,000 miles from Moscow. It's nowhere near what you would consider Russia, but Russia owns that big, vast stretch of land. Now, these Siberian gold deposits, according to the report, are owned by a company called Sun Gold, which is an Indian mining group. Now, remember, India doesn't have any domestic mining production, and India has to import all of its gold. But in August, Russia announced that China intended to buy a 70% interest from Sun Gold. So it seems that the BRICS nations are very interested in not only acquiring gold, but also developing their mining deposits. All right, so does it really make sense, based on this Pravda story, for Russia to sell some of its gold? I say not really. Now, did Pravda plant the story to influence the gold price lower so the Central Bank of Russia could add more gold at lower prices? I don't know. And who is this Alexei Vasilevsky guy that I can't pronounce his name? He's the vice president of Golden Monetary House. What is the Golden Monetary House? I couldn't find any description of this entity online, and the only reference to Alexei Vasilevsky is in reference to this story. So why would Pravda cite this person? He doesn't seem to be maybe he is. I'm not saying he isn't, but in Western reports, he doesn't seem to appear anywhere, and nor does the entity he's associated with. And we haven't heard the Russian central bank mention anything about, not that they necessarily would, about selling gold, but it just seems that Pravda decided to report a story coming straight out of the Golden Monetary House that Russia was preparing to sell its gold. What do you think? Now, please leave your comments below on YouTube or on the Smaulgld website, where I'll put a link to this blog post. If you're interested in following what happens next, during the third week of each month, we update the Central Bank of Russia's gold reserves for the prior month. So please subscribe to Smaulgld. You'll get that report when it comes out. The second it comes out, it will be emailed to you, and you can see whether Russia added gold in October when we report in November, whether Russia sold some gold, or where Russia did nothing and kept its gold reserves the same for the month of October. And again, if you subscribe to Smaulgld, you'll not only get that report when it comes out in November, you'll get it in December, January next year, and so on, and we can track together what Russia is doing with their gold reserves. Remember, if you're not a subscriber, you can sign up at the link below or go to smaulgld.com. and fill in your email address. That's all you have to do, and you will be signed up to Smaulgld. Thank you very much, and please subscribe to the Smaulgld YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter. Have a good day.